Are you still confused about how Datadog's pricing actually works? In this video, we'll break down the key concepts so you can finally make sense of it all. And stay tuned. By the end, I'll share a simple cost calculator to help you estimate your own setup. Before we dive into the pricing for each category, let's first go over a few core concepts that apply across all types of telemetry in Datadog. Let's start with the concept of quotas, or what Datadog calls allotments. For products where pricing is primarily per host, each host package includes a certain amount of usage-based products. Let's select an example to clarify. For example, an APM host comes with 150 gigabytes of ingested spans included. If you stay under that limit, there's no extra charge. But anything above it is billed on a pay-as-you-go basis. So if I use 250 gigabytes in total, I'd only pay for the extra 100 gigabytes beyond the included quota. Now, this quota isn't tied to a specific host. Let's say you have 10 APM hosts active this month. That gives you a shared quota of 1,500 gigabytes of ingested spans in total. It doesn't matter which host generates the data, they all contribute to the same overall quota. So what exactly counts as a host? Datadog tracks the number of unique hosts being monitored every hour. If you're on the high watermark plan, which is the most common, your monthly host count is based on the highest number of hosts used across 99% of those hourly samples. Datadog excludes the top 1% to protect you from temporary spikes that could otherwise inflate your bill. Let's start with infrastructure pricing, which also covers metrics and containers. When you create your account, you can choose between the Pro or Enterprise plan. This affects not only the available features, but also what's included by default in your pricing. Since we're focusing on cost here, let's look specifically at containers, metrics, and custom events. With the Pro plan, you get 5 containers, 100 custom metrics, and 500 events included. The Enterprise plan doubles all of those quotas. Let's zoom in on containers. Each host includes a certain number of containers. But if you need more, Datadog offers 2 pricing options. If you consistently need additional containers, you can purchase them at $1 per container per month. It doesn't matter if it's the same container, it's just about the number being monitored. So if your plan includes 100 containers, but you usually run around 110, it makes sense to buy those extra 10. However, if your container usage fluctuates, you can go with the on-demand rate of $0.002 per container per hour, which is more flexible for short-term spikes. Next, let's look at how metrics are calculated. If you want more background, check out our video on infrastructure metrics. It explains how Datadog counts them. For now, let's say you're on the Pro plan. That includes 100 custom metrics. If you typically send around 150 metrics on average each month, you'd pay for the 50 extra metrics. The price can go as low as $1 per 100 custom metrics. And to clarify, we're talking only about custom metrics here. Any metrics from Datadog's native integrations, those listed in the docs, are considered standard and are already included in your host cost. So how exactly does Datadog count custom metrics? A custom metric is defined as a unique combination of a metric name, host ID, and tags. Datadog charges based on the monthly average number of unique custom metrics sent to the infrastructure service, measured hourly. In practice, every hour, Datadog checks how many unique metric tag combinations it receives. Whether you send 1 data point or 200 for that combination, it still counts as one custom metric. At the end of the month, Datadog averages those hourly counts to determine your total usage. Now moving on to custom events. The logic is similar to what we saw earlier. You have a base quota included with your plan, and any additional events beyond that will be billed. That said, it's pretty uncommon to exceed the quota for events, since most platforms send standard events that don't incur extra charges. Let's go back to infrastructure host pricing using Datadog's public numbers. The Pro plan includes roughly $5 worth of container monitoring, 100 custom metrics valued between $1 and $5, and a quota of custom events. Of course, it includes everything else from the standard metrics, integrations, and more. The Enterprise plan doubles that. About $10 of container capacity and $2 to $10 worth of custom metrics, some custom events, and the same standard metrics, integrations, and more. So depending on your usage patterns and how well you negotiate, the Enterprise plan could actually be more cost-effective. Now let's move on to log pricing. Before diving into the numbers, I recommend checking out our separate video series on logs for more context. The pricing model here is simpler. It's entirely consumption-based. Every log you send counts as an ingested log, measured in gigabytes of data received by Datadog. Once ingested, you can choose to index some of those logs, which is billed per million logs indexed. Your total cost mainly depends on how long you choose to retain those indexed logs. In general, the best strategy is to send everything, since ingestion costs are low, and then selectively index only what's valuable. Next, let's look at real user monitoring, or RUM. Don't worry, its pricing works in a way that's quite similar to logs. In RUM, the unit of billing is a session, basically one user's journey through your web app. A session ends after 15 minutes of inactivity and can last up to 4 hours. When sessions are sent to Datadog, they first appear as RUM measure data, used to automatically create metrics and dashboards. If you want to retain sessions for deeper analysis, you can convert them to RUM Investigate, priced at $3 per 1,000 sessions. And for session replay, where you can visually review user activity, the cost is $2.50 per 1,000 sessions. Finally, let's wrap up by looking at APM pricing. This combines the host-based pricing model and the usage-based model. Let's start with what's included in an APM host. According to Datadog's pricing page, each host includes 150 gigabytes of ingested spans and 1 million indexed spans, stored for 15 days. Keep in mind that spans auto-retained by Datadog don't count toward that quota. If we translate that into public pricing, those inclusions are worth about $15 in ingested spans and roughly $1.70 in indexed spans, already built into your APM host cost. These two components, ingested and indexed spans, work similarly to logs and RUM. They're consumption-based. Ingested spans are visible for about 15 minutes, which is great for real-time troubleshooting and creating span-based metrics. Since the cost of ingestion is relatively low, most teams send all spans to Datadog and then apply tail-based sampling afterward. For data that needs to be kept longer, such as critical or slow troubleshooting traces, you can store them as indexed spans for deeper analysis. Now let's wrap things up with the cost calculator we mentioned at the start. I'll walk you through how it works and how you can use it to estimate your Datadog costs. If you go to calculator.digitan.io, you'll land on this page. From there, head to zeta.co, /s-calculator. You'll see a list of Datadog products that you can adjust to model your setup. For example, choose the enterprise plan, then enter details like 100 hosts, some extra containers, say around 200, and maybe 1,000 additional custom metrics. The calculator will estimate the price for those specific items while showing what's already included in your plan. For APM, let's assume that out of your 100 hosts, 50 include APM. In this case, I'm not adding any extra hosts, but I'll include 100 million additional indexed spans. For this demo, we'll keep it to the minimum pricing tier. Now for logs, we'll follow the same logic. Let's say we ingest 500 GB of logs per month, keeping them indexed for 7 days. That's roughly 500 million logs. For RUM, I'll leave it at 0 since we're not using it in this case. And for synthetics, let's say we'll add a few basic tests. Let's add around 100 API tests to the synthetic monitoring section. The calculator now gives us pricing for each individual component. Of course, these numbers are based on public Datadog prices, so you may need to adjust them based on your actual contract or discounts. Still, this tool gives a solid overview of your expected costs and how each part contributes. You can also copy the JSON output or download it if you'd like to reuse the estimate later. The main goal here is to help you understand how all these pricing components fit together in a single, clear view. And that's it, a quick overview of Datadog's pricing structure and model. Remember, Datadog mainly uses two pricing types. A host-based model, which includes quotas, and a usage-based model, which scales with the volume of data you send and store. This same logic applies across most Datadog products. If you found this helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our blog and YouTube channel for more breakdowns like this. And as always, happy monitoring.